Good morning, everyone, and welcome on behalf of Germany Trade and Invest. My name is Robert Scheid. I head up our London office, and I'm the first point of contact for companies from the UK and Ireland who are interested in expanding into the German market. And I'm here today with my colleague. Seema, would you like to say hello?
Thank you, Rob. My name is Seema Bhardwaj, and I'm based in Mumbai office in India. So together with my colleague Rob, we are going to show you about Germany and walk you through in a small presentation. Rob, over to you.
All right, let me just share my screen here. So from the top, just a couple comments. Number one, today's topic of this event is Brexit. And as I'm sure you can imagine, anyone who's living in London is a bit tired of the topic of Brexit, almost as much as we're tired of the pandemic. But if you think about it, Brexit has been with us for over 5 years now. The referendum was in 2016. And the debates about Brexit started well before that. And here we are today in 2021. We've got a deal between the EU and the UK for almost a year now. However, that doesn't mean that everything is completely sorted out, especially if you think about services. So we've got a deal that pretty much regulates the trade of goods, but services, there's still a number of open questions. So our kind of hypothesis today is that Germany, its role for Indian companies is now evolving and changing, because with the UK outside of the EU, the UK is no longer on the same level of attractiveness for international companies, using it as a springboard to serve the entire European market. And of course, Indian companies traditionally would use the UK as their first place to locate. So we're seeing the first bits of evidence that that more Indian companies are looking to Germany as their new base for the EU. So today's topic, we want to focus on beyond Brexit, moving forward, how we can help, how we can be proactive to assist companies to navigate some of the stumbling blocks that we have in place following the UK's departure from the European Union. So I'm not going to give you a lot of facts and figures today about Germany. I think most of you will be familiar with Germany as the largest economy in all of Europe. It's known for its manufacturing base, for innovation, for highly skilled workers, all of those things. I don't think we need to spend too much time with that. So what we will do today is tell you a bit about the current FDI trends, so the investment trends towards Germany coming from the UK and from India, and how this kind of triangulation is going to be more relevant going forwards. And I think after that, Seema will give you a bit of practical tips of how to navigate and move forward if you're thinking about coming to Germany or expanding into Germany. Then we will give you the view from London and from Mumbai, so that you've got a better full picture. Now, I'll just start with a very brief introduction to Germany Trade and Invest, who we are, what we do. We are the national agency for all of Germany for economic development. We assist German companies with export information. We help them find market opportunities worldwide. And we assist companies from all over the world to expand into the German market. And we are located we're headquartered in Berlin and Bonn, and we've got offices in 50 locations worldwide. Now, what's most interesting for you today, I think, is the second column here, the investor consulting. That is our free of charge, fully comprehensive package of consulting services for international companies looking to set up in the German market. How do we do this? Well, it starts with basic market information. So we've got industry experts divided by sectors. So whatever industry you are working in, we've got specialists who know the ins and outs of the German market for that industry. And then we will take you by the hand and walk you through all of the legal and tax issues, such as how to set up a German limited, what are the steps to do that, how long does it take, what does it cost, and then of course, what are the tax implications when you are thinking about where you would like to locate your business, and also issues such as labor law, which is different from country to country. We will help you navigate all of the issues around excuse me, German labor law. And last but not least, we can provide you with information on financing and incentives. There are a number of different generous incentive programs in Germany, depending on where you decide to locate and what your activities are. So especially things like manufacturing and research and development receive generous grants and other types of incentives. So we can walk you through that process as well. As I said, we have offices in 50 locations worldwide, and I'm based here in London for all of the British companies out there. And my colleague Seema is based in Mumbai, but we also have, for those of you who might be located in the north of India, we have a second office in New Delhi as well. Now I'm going to spend a bit of time on this slide. It looks very simple and straightforward, which it is. However, there's a lot of information behind these numbers to unpack. So I'd like to just spend a couple minutes telling you about what we're actually seeing here. So the first thing you'll notice is pretty clear that there's a strong increase in the number of companies that are coming from the UK and setting up in Germany. So just from 2014 to 2019, the number of projects, and so I use the term companies and projects interchangeably. Technically it's projects, but there are a few companies with multiple projects, but I'll still say companies from time to time. So we've noticed that these figures have doubled over the past 5-6 years. The second thing you'll notice is the steep drop-off in 2020. Now that is clearly because of COVID. If you think about it, there were a lot of travel restrictions in place and companies were not able to travel abroad to visit sites that they wanted to invest in and locate. So there were a lot of projects that were put on hold in 2020. But that doesn't mean that these projects are not going to be realized. So that's one thing I would like to share, is that from our number of requests and number of inquiries and projects that we have right now in the pipeline, we're expecting the trend to go back towards what it was pre-COVID. And in the next 2 to 3 years, we're expecting that record number from 2019 will be surpassed. Another thing I wanted to point out is that this increase, if you notice, started from 2014 to 2015. That's well before the Brexit referendum. I mean, you might expect a bit of a Brexit bump, a number of companies who decide to set up a second office in the EU to hedge their bets following the referendum. But this actually started beforehand. So just to say that this is actually a long-term trend that we're seeing in terms of increased interest from the UK in Germany. Now, there's some other things behind these numbers as well. You have to think about what kind of companies are investing, and we're seeing that you might expect multinationals, but this is more of medium-sized businesses. There are a few large companies in this list, or in these numbers, but we're seeing mainly medium-sized businesses. Now, what's changing is that the number of international companies not from the UK who use the UK as a springboard to the EU has also shifted. So this could be, as I mentioned before, Indian companies, but also American companies, Japanese companies, and the like, who tend to have their headquarters for the entire European region in London or elsewhere in the UK. I'd like to point out also one thing that has been affected directly. So just to kind of contextualize what type of companies and why would they be setting up in the European Union. And there's the business model of using the UK as a hub for goods is at times in certain contexts no longer viable because the UK doesn't technically have to pay customs duties on goods that are traded between the UK and the EU now. However, if these goods are not manufactured in the UK, if they do not meet the rules of origin, then they will still have to pay duties when they're imported into the EU. So to give you a concrete example of what I mean by this, if you're, for example, a tier 2 automotive supplier and you manufacture cables, but these cables come from the Far East, for example, and you import them and you have your warehouse in the UK and your headquarters in the UK. Now, when you resell them to the automotive industry in a place like Germany, then you would now incur duties. So it becomes more expensive to operate this way. And companies like this are now deciding that they need a second office in the EU, and Germany, for a multitude of reasons, is becoming kind of that no-brainer location that people decide to set up. So I'd like to pass over to Seema because we would also like the Indian perspective on this. But first, I would just like to say one last thing about the sectors that are represented as well from the UK into Germany. And that, as you can see and probably imagine, financial services, IT, and software make up over half of the investment projects that are coming from the UK. But increasingly, we're seeing manufacturing projects as well, European headquarter locations as well, and research and development facilities. Now, Seema, can you tell me, how is the picture coming from India?
Thank you, Rob. Well, I can, from the Indian side, confirm the trend which you mentioned about, in general, international companies who had chosen UK before to set up their headquarters and use it as a gateway. So this trend is already visible in the figures which we have in Germany through the Indian companies. So they are actually coming to Germany, also among others, setting up their warehouses, and now in the port cities mostly. So the queries have been trickling in slowly. The point here, what we have is the similar trend which is followed by British companies is also reflected within the Indian companies. The slide which you mentioned earlier was about the sectors what most of the British companies are investing in Germany. So they are very similar. Business and financial services, ICT and software companies are also the top two sectors where Indian companies are investing in Germany. Now, if you see this slide in the terms of business activity, you see there's a natural synergy between these countries. Both India and UK engage approximately 65% of all their activities in the field of sales and marketing and business services. So what is interesting to note in this slide is that the Indian companies, as compared to British companies, they are involving much more than the British companies in the manufacturing field and also in the research and development. In fact, 5% of the Indian companies chose Germany as their headquarters. So that's a shift which we see from the Indian side, that most of the Indian companies there was a phase, if you see in 2020, Indian companies actually, before Brexit happened, and they immediately chose to set up their office and consolidate within UK. And now they are slowly looking at EU mainland and also trying and deciding and reimagining their new strategies towards Europe. So immediately to this slide, most of the times, not just about India, I've been often asked is what kind of presence should we be having in Germany? And so on the next slide here, I would like to show that there are many questions about how to set up office in Germany, what is the form we should be having. So having said that, as compared to most of the countries in the world, Germany also offers various kind of legal entities which you can choose. You can have a branch office, and of course you can get yourself incorporated and have a private limited company or a public limited company. So having said that, the most popular form is the GmbH, and this is a private limited company if you compare it to the common law countries like UK and India. So the whole purpose of this entity is that it's easier to conduct business, and if you have a GmbH, it combines the high flexibility with relatively few obligations, and it enjoys a very good reputation worldwide generally, within Germany as well. So another question which is also asked by us is that first things first is that anyone can establish business places in Germany, irrespective of the nationality or of their place of residence. So these questions crop up many times to us. Um, Now here, other point which I would like to make is that the question comes up that you would require a German business address. This question comes quite often. Do I need to be present there, or do I have to have a German representative or a managing director there? No, physically you don't require to be present in Germany, but this company form would require a German business address, and it's easier to have a local representative within Germany who would actually accept all your correspondence with the authorities. And another question which also arises in most of the queries is about the share capital once you are setting up a GmbH. So the minimum share capital is 25,000 euros. And another question again coming up is about if the shareholders have to be Germans, or you have to have the MD who is a German national. No, again the question is this: you just need a German address and a local representative. So in the coming slide, I would like to show you the process about this GmbH. And here we have just shown you if this private limited company is initially mentioned. We have a setup of articles of association. You form these articles, which are the constitution of a private limited. And these articles have to be notarized by a German notary together with the managing director of your company. So a presence is required, yes, and that's something different as compared to UK and India, that a notarization is done by a German notary. And once this is done, you get then follows the third, a bank account in Germany, and then the shares and the money can be transferred to the bank account. Now again, you do not have to transfer all of the 25,000 euros in one go. The minimum paid up capital can be 12,500 euros. And once this bank account is opened, you inform your notary, and the notary would actually do the entry, would inform the commercial register, and once the entry is done, you will get the Handel Register Auszug, which is the certificate of incorporation, and with this you are ready to go. A small notification has to be done in the municipality where is your office is going to be based. So that's in short the process which we have. Now sometimes also the question comes, and specifically in the background of Corona, how long was it going to take? So you have to start from a minimum of 2 weeks. And if you're an international company, specifically if you're coming from India, one should actually consider anywhere between 4 to 6 weeks. So all of these 2 weeks is only for the companies who have their documentation all set and done. So if you're not a UK company coming from a country like India, then you would need to have your documents notarized, your certificate incorporation legalized by the embassy or the consulates. So the most part is actually taken up preparing the documentation in your country of origin, and from there, once we have all the documentation done, the whole of the process is could take anywhere from 2 to 6 weeks. So that's what about the business establishment. And as I said, so GmbH is the most common form, and together with this, we always have the test question is about the taxes. So now there is always a question like, how does the taxation system works within Germany? Germany offers a competitive system of corporate taxation. So we have the corporate tax in Germany is consisting of 3 components. One is the corporate tax, then you have a solidarity surcharge, and the trade tax. So at the national level, there's a uniform tax rate of 15%, which is at the whole national level, which is levied at the corporate tax. And on the calculated corporate tax, you have a solidarity surcharge, which is 5.5% of the corporate income tax. So we would say you have an uniform effective tax rate around 15.83% at the national level. Now, here I would like to emphasize on the third component, which is very decisive most of the time for the companies. And if you're a smaller company and flexible, that's the trade tax. Now, this trade tax is a municipal tax. And here, each municipality determines their own tax rates. Therefore, individual tax rate of a municipality is a decisive factor for overall tax burden. And that's why I'm just I've not done any calculation for you on this slide. So we are just like to show you the map, which is shown on the screen, that how diverse the German tax landscape is. So here you see the lighter yellow to dark brown is the variations in the tax rate depending on which part of Germany you are located. So here you see just an example is that, so as Anisha said, your uniform corporate tax rate remains the same, 15.83 Germany, throughout Germany, and the rest, third component is very decisive. So here we take most of the major cities. You have Hamburg, Berlin, and Frankfurt and Munich. So the first, you have the highest slab is around 33%, which is in Munich. But if you go across, let's say across the river in another part, you have almost 10% difference. So whole purpose of this map is to portray and visualize how it makes difference for you once deciding on the location of your business activity within Germany. So here is there where Germany Trade and Invest as an organization comes into play, and we help you cruise through these structures, and so that you can make informed decisions before deciding on the exact location in Germany. Other interesting point as far as together with the taxation is another slide which Rob initially mentioned about the various grants and incentives which Germany has to offer to the new companies. So now on this map you have incentives for the foreign companies, and here you see there are different marks with the blue and dark blue areas. So Germany offers, as I said, offers various public funding instruments for different business activities. You have among the joint task program where up to 40% subsidies and supports can be provided to new production or service facilities. So You see, in the various these areas, some small enterprises can receive subsidy rates of between 20 to 30%. And so we have to see where you would like to invest, and that's why get in touch with us. And together with our taxation structure and on the map of whole of Germany, it makes sense for a foreign investor to see these structures and accordingly decide uh, which would be more decisive for setting up your office in Germany. And Germany Trade and Invest, we are very pleased to advise you on these business opportunities because we are a federal level organization and we have a broad overview of all the fundings and the taxation structures, and we work closely together with all the 16 state promotion agencies within Germany. Having said that, one more thing I would like to say about the Indian investors coming to Germany is that in the recent past, we do also see a parallel increase of number of Indian students coming to study in Germany. So in fact, last year was the record number of foreign students coming from India to Germany. And also recently I was reading uh, in the newspapers that the Indian employees get the highest number of highest salary within Germany. So there is already an increase there, and the acceptance is there within the German companies as well. So it would be interesting for you to see that coming to Germany because of its location within the Europe, which Rob might show in the next slide, is that we are in the heart of Europe here, and Germany is a starting point for you as an alternative uh, once your Brexit from UK. Rob, this was from my side. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Seema. I think the only thing we have left to say is if you need any help, please don't hesitate to contact us. And I'd also like to point out one last thing. We're very happy today that there is such a strong German presence at this event. And we would invite you to also watch the presentations of our partners from Bavaria and from Thuringia. So Bavaria is on everyone's radar. It's one of the strongest and most important regions in Germany that most people know. Thuringia is one of the up-and-coming regions, and also, as we just saw the slide on incentives, it's one of the regions that has stronger grants available. And there's also our colleague today from Hanover, who, well, we all know Hanover from the annual trade fair, but Hanover offers much more than just that. So please, please check out the booths and the presentations by our partners as well. And don't hesitate to contact us if you need anything. Thank you very much.
Thank you.